Anytime you're shortcutting it, you're probably cheating some people. Players play. Tough players win.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Centered Podcast. For those of you joining us for the first time ever, my name is Anthony Ianni. I am your host, a former Michigan State basketball player, as well as the first Division I college basketball player in NCAA history with autism. If you'd like to hear more episodes of the Centered Podcast, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Odyssey.com. If you'd like to see our video interviews for the podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is the Centered Podcast. Again, thank you everybody so much for joining me. Hope everybody's having a great month so far. Today's guest, I wanted to bring on somebody who, number one, I haven't talked to or seen in a while. Obviously, with the pandemic going on and technology these days, a new way, Zoom has been a new way for everybody to communicate. And, you know, I wanted this individual on the podcast because, number one, he's a legend. He's a Lansing legend, you know, basketball, you know, football included. And he's an Okemos High School legend as well. You know, where I grew up, went to high school. And I wanted to have him on, just number one, because, you know, we wanted to reminisce in the glory days that we had at Okemos High School, but also kind of talk about his college career as well. And basically, you know, what he learned from our high school coach and, you know, Greg Camby at Oakland University. So Johnathon Jones is today's guest. And JJ and I, you know, I like to say our relationship is a big brother, little brother relationship. You know, this is a guy who's always had my back, who always believed in me, continues to believe in me to this day, and has always supported me from the first day that we met on the basketball court. So I'm super excited to have him on the show. Hope you guys enjoy our conversation. Yes, a lot of it will be about Okemos High School, but you know what? That's where we're from, O-Town for life. And you guys get to hear a lot of great stories that maybe, you know, you may not hear a lot about in high school sports today. So super excited to have Johnathon on. Let's get right into it with my man, former Okemos High School great and Oakland University great, Johnathon Jones. So let's get right into it, man. So correct me if I'm wrong. You didn't go to Okemos schools at first, did you? You went to Williamston.
I went to Williamston. So originally I started off in Lansing schools, and my parents moved out to, what was it, Meridian Road?
Yeah.
Still Okemos, but the street that we lived on was Williamson School District. I could literally see the Okemos school bus outside of my window, and I'm like, oh my God, I thought I was going there, and then nope. So you know how it is with school of choice. It's tough to get in that way. So we ended up moving like a couple streets over, and then 2 years later, and then that's when I came in 7th grade.
So how much of Williamston do you remember?
Ooh. Vaguely. I mean, it was what, 5th and 6th grade, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I remember at that time they had a couple nice players out there. Was it Jason Bauer? I can't remember. They were pretty good. They had a pretty good solid team though, or foundation out there.
Yeah. So no, I remember Jason Bauer because he coached Williamson's varsity team, and then unfortunately he passed away a few years ago.
Right.
I remember Jason really well, and then I think he went to Grand Valley State and played up there.
I believe so.
Yeah, good, heck of a player, really good guy. So you get to Okemos, man, and so right away, could you tell like the difference between the two schools as soon as you got to Kennewa?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I wanted, like, when I went to Williamston, it was only 3 Black people in the whole school district. Like, I was in the elementary, there was another guy in the middle school, and my brother was in the high school. So it was a complete culture shock going from Lansing School District to out there to Williamston for 2 years. But once I went back to Okemos, it was like a melting pot, you know? That was one of the biggest things. Everybody was just so welcoming when I got there.
And I think that's the one thing I've always noticed about our hometown growing up is like a lot of people, welcome you. A lot of people want to help you. A lot of people want to make sure you do good. And on top of that, like a very super supportive community too. Do you agree with that?
Very, very supportive. I mean, just in my little neighborhood, I had so many friends right when I got there.
Mhm.
Still talk to some of them to this day. Those are lifelong friendships that I gained just moving 2 streets over and going to a whole completely different school district. So yeah, you value those relationships and just how welcoming the actually Okemos is.
So what were some of the things that you like to do as a kid growing up? Because for me, obviously sports was one thing, but like if there was ever a chance in my neighborhood, we play, roller hockey, get the nets out and just, slap the test ball in the nets, tag, touch football. So what were kind of things you did a lot when you were a kid?
If it was anything I could do outside, that's what I was doing. Like you just
Mhm.
said, tag, basketball. Going back to my days when in Lansing, we used to block off the streets, and I would roll out my hoop, and my friend would roll out his, and we'll like play full court basketball in the street. Like everyone knew, like the cars would have to go around and come in through the other way. Like that's just I was always outside. It didn't matter what it was. I played every sport you can imagine. I tried it once, and I was like, I don't like that. I'm gonna move on to the next one. Like I remember I played t-ball. I was like, oh my god, I can't do this.
Why was that?
It was so t-ball. They had like everyone had a position, right? And then like you had a pitcher there who was fake
Right.
pitching. He was just like throwing air, and then you'll wait, and then the coach would be like swing. I'm like, what? This is weird. I was like, I can't do this.
Oh man, gotta love those days of T-ball, man. So obviously middle school now. So what were kind of like was basketball and football and track and field your kind of three main sports, playing in middle school?
It was, yes. I got rid of so it was track, basketball, and football. Stopped doing track because of AAU. It was interfering. But mostly when I got to Kennewood, it was just basketball and football. And to be honest, I didn't play football until my 8th grade year
Really?
at no at Okemos. I was still
Okay.
playing in the Lansing school district or Lansing some league, whatever it was.
Mhm.
Uh, but going into the 8th grade, my dad was like, "You should probably get to know the players in the playbook." I was like, "All right," and that was one of our special team, like our class, our '06 class. I'm not gonna brag because we weren't really that good in football, but that was probably like our in my 4 years, that was our best year. We were 5-6. Whoop, whoop. But like we were in a lot of close games, and like we really should have made it to the playoffs. But I just remember that group that we in 8th grade, like we just kept building and building and building.
I do want to talk about the '06 class really, the '06 class real quick here. And obviously we're going to get into your high school days here in a minute. I tell people all the time, dude, that I wished I would have graduated with your class.
No.
I seriously, I say that to a lot of people because it's nothing against my class. It's nothing against the '07 class because I made incredible relationships with a lot of people, still close to a lot of people to this day. I mean, I was best man in Jeff Hall's wedding this past weekend, and as you know, Jeff's my guy.
Right.
But anytime it was after class or it was before, during, or after practice, like I was always with you guys most of the time
That's
because
true.
you kind of, and we'll get into it in a little bit, but you guys kind of just took me under your wing, and I was like, man, like these guys, they're the coolest dudes that I know, and like, they look out for you. Whereas I feel like my graduating class, they didn't do that as much as say like guys like you, Ivan Parker, John Callie, I mean Jeff,
Yeah.
like all those guys. I'm just naming a few off, but like I tell people all the time, like yeah, that's if I could pick any class that I wish I would have graduated with, it was the '06 class. So when you say not to brag about '06, you brag as much as you want, man. Because I tell people to this day, I still think that was one of the greatest graduating classes that ever left Okemos High School.
Well, just in the sports scene, like we had a lot of people who played up, like start freshman year, either play JV or fresh or
Yeah.
varsity. So I think we kind of just learned from our peers. Like I remember my freshman year, I got moved up halfway through to varsity, and those guys, Pierre Holt, a couple other guys, they kind of took or Nick Odell, Jet, or oh my god, I'm drawing a blank, but all those guys kind of like just took me under their wings, and I kind of just learned from them. And Ben Dan's
Yeah.
Ben.
Yep.
But all those guys kind of just took me under their wings, and it was just I kind of just, when I saw you, I was like, that was me back in the day, or let's bring them up and just kind of show them the way that they kind of taught me. So, I mean, Okemos was kind of built like that. I think, I don't want to go too far. I don't know where you're going, but it was kind of just the culture that Stoltz kind of instilled. Like, hey, you got a new guy, show him the ropes. Here you go. And I don't know how it is now. Just looking at the high school scene, things are different. I mean, everybody.
No question.
It's me. Like, I think everybody in our team had an ability to play well, and it was never like a me thing. I remember many games I wasn't the leading scorer, you were the leading scorer, other people were the leading scorer. We just cared about one thing, and that was winning.
No question, man. And let's before we get to that incredible scene here, because there's going to be a lot to talk about with that, man. Let's kind of backtrack a little bit. So you talked about how already you got moved up halfway, into the varsity season, your freshman year. Was that a little intimidating for you, getting moved up halfway or like in the middle of the season? Or did you have that confidence of like, yeah, I'm good enough to immediately play varsity right now?
So that summer leading up to the season, I was playing all varsity. I was playing in the summer league. I went to MSU, I went with varsity. And I mean, the team was deep. They always won the CAAC. So they're very deep. But Stoltz told me, he was like, hey, I want you to go on JV and really just like hone your skills and show that you can lead a team as being a point guard. So I think him telling me that kind of helped me mature on what I was going there to do. I was going there, obviously win and play the best, but also learn how to lead older guys before going to the varsity step.
And kind of like you said too, you had guys that immediately took you under their wing, kind of showed you the ropes. And did you start like the rest of the season after you were brought up, or were we just like kind of like the 6 or 7 men off the bench?
I was like the 6 or 7 off the bench, but when we came to the tournament time, my minutes increased.
Yeah.
And I was like the second leading scorer or something like that. But it was kind of like I was just getting my feet wet and just got more and more confidence as the season went along.
The one game I remember really well, I think it was the regional finals against Jackson at Eastern. I remember that game because I think my mom's volleyball team may have either lost in regionals or something, and then we came back to catch the game. But I remember you playing extremely well that game, and then obviously lost that game. But what was one thing you learned from that game, despite even though you played well enough to win the game, but it wasn't enough? What did you take away from losing in that regional championship game?
I think it was the little details. Like you look back on things like you could have done, and even as a freshman being on varsity at that time, guys were looking at me to step up in moments, and I was like, okay, I can do this. So I think it was just focusing on the small details and trying to improve my craft.
And obviously you did, man, because the next year, Lansing State Journal dubbed you, quote, the super sophomore after the Grand Ledge game. How I remember that, because I think we were playing Grand Ledge at home. I remember because I was in the student section with Tom Stout. We were sitting like second or third row, and all the game plan was that whole game was double team Al Horford or triple team Al Horford.
Right.
Like 28 or 30 that game. And then I wake up the next morning and in big bold print on the front was a picture of you and it said super soft. And I was like, yep. I said, we got a stud at Okemos High School, which in all honesty, when there was talk about me moving up to varsity toward that summer, I'm not going to lie, I was a little intimidated by you at first because you were the big time star. You were the number one player in the area at the time. And so I remember there probably were a couple of awkward moments I had with you where I was just like,
Never. I don't know what you're talking about. No, I mean, I'm sure I had those awkward moments with upperclassmen as well. You're trying to learn the ropes. You're dealing with being a freshman, and on top of that, Now you're being thrown into this locker room with all the old upperclassmen. So you're trying to find your own way. And I mean, you live and you learn. It's like you try things out. Okay, not gonna do that next time in practice. You try this out. Okay, this is what I can do. You know, you just it's. I think I saw you. I think I saw some like a little piece of me. You know, like, hey, this guy, he has the talent. He's gonna come up in the system as well. So let me wrap my arms around him like the other upperclassmen did for me and try to guide him on his way.
There was a moment in the summer too where we were doing open gym. I think it was like either late July or early August before school started. And you had one court going with JV and freshman kids, and the other court was varsity. It was in the aux gym, the rubber gym, we called it. And I go over to play with the JV guys, and then all of a sudden I hear this loud, AI, get your ass over here. You're playing with varsity. Let's go. And I looked, it was you. I'm like, oh, okay. If Jonathan says I'm playing with varsity, you know, let's go. Because Stoltz was kind of bouncing me back and forth at the time with JV and with varsity scrimmages. And I got so upset because I was like, all right, if you're going to put me in varsity, put me in varsity. If you're going to have me JV this year, put me on JV.
Right.
But when you shouted, you know, get your ass over here, you're playing with us, I'm like, okay, I think that's official. I'm pretty sure that means you're going to be playing varsity this year because Johnathon Jones said so. So you might want to
You know, like I saw the potential early. I mean, you can't miss you, but you had the footwork, you had the hands, you had the soft touch, you know, so I saw that and I saw what our team needed and you fit that piece, you know, growing. I don't want to, so I got to go back against the Grand Ledge. Joey Harrington actually played Al Horford one-on-one that game and locked him down. So I got to give him his credit. But yeah, I just saw you. You're maturing faster than the rest of your class. Skills, even just I would see you on the outside the circuit, outside of Okemos. And it wasn't a lot of people who were doing that, you know. Saw you just not being afraid to get outside of Okemos and play other talent, other top talent. And you know what? You learn from that. And then you come back to Okemos, you're like, hey, I know I can do this move on this guy. And I saw you doing that. I saw you on the circuit. So that's just I saw the work you were putting in.
And I think that's a testament to Anthony Stuckey, who was my AAU coach, because, you know, he gave me the nickname AI because he refused to call me by my last name like everybody else did in high school. He didn't know how to pronounce it right. So she's like, you know what? I'm not going to call you, you know, by your last name because it's tough to say. I'm not going to call you Anthony because that's my name. So I'm just going to call you AI. And I was like, all right, cool. I got the same initials as Allen Iverson. So I'm
right.
So because I remember going back to school, that's my sophomore year, saying, and first person that called me Ianni, hey Ianni, what up? I'm like, no, it's AI. It is strictly AI. I don't want that Ianni nonsense. And so, but like Coach Stuckey kind of gave me that confidence,
right?
To, you know, you do this move on somebody and you do it constantly, you know, you're going to be all right. But I think from a mentality standpoint, from, you know, getting my footwork better and working on my post moves, like he was kind of that guy of, all right, get in the gym every day, do jump ropes, you know, 3 sets of 100, 2 feet, right foot and left foot, right. Like keep getting at it. And he gave me a speech. So we were in Vegas. And so after we lost, he pulled me aside in the hallway lot, in the lobby of our hotel. And he looks at me and goes, AI, I'm just going to tell you this once, so you better listen. He said, from this day forward until varsity tryouts, I want you to look at yourself every day in the mirror when you wake up and you say to yourself, that varsity spot is mine.
Right.
Nobody else is going to take it. You are damn good enough to play varsity this year. Nobody else is going to take it from you except you. So you need to continue to look at yourself in the mirror every day and tell yourself that, because I'm getting calls from college scouts who want to look at you and this is your time to shine. So when he told me that, I was like, yeah, I said, let's go do this thing.
For sure.
But again, you know, like the nervous underclassman that I was, it's very intimidating to walk into a locker room with guys, some guys that you never met before. You know, I think the only guy that I knew, and obviously I got to play, you know, with a team camp with you guys at Michigan State and Toledo, but I didn't know everybody that well yet. You know, The only guy I knew was Ivan Parker at the time, because Ivan and I, Ivan lived a street over from me. We went to elementary school together, and he was the only guy I knew. But the more and more I hung around that team, the more comfortable I got with everybody. And obviously that's a big, testament to you, because like you said, you learned from the older guys and you wanted to, kind of carry on that tradition of, I got you. If you need anything, just let me know.
I mean, just from the team dinners to the hangout sessions before the game, after the game, like I think that's what brought our team together. And I think the culture.
Oh yeah.
We started early. I mean, we started sophomore year all the way up, like just bonding together, always looking after each other. And I think that translated onto the court. I remember, I don't know if I'm skipping ahead, but I remember leading into my senior year, and that off season we went to MSU Albion and I think another one, and we only lost one game.
Yeah, it was at Albion. That was the only one we lost that summer.
And we technically didn't lose that one. Somebody didn't look at the basket, but we're not gonna, whatever. It was like a tie game, but whatever.
Right.
But you could see the chemistry building, and just outside, like we knew what we could do on the court, but it was more so after the game, everyone was together, either playing games, cards, or whatever, and just hanging out. And that's where you build that chemistry that you can't match. And I think we saw it on the court like many times throughout my senior season. We'll be down, or they'll look at me, I'm having an off night, and then somebody else steps up and carries the team, or hey, so and so is not playing well today, but hey, we're gonna pick them up. Like we saw that in each other, and it was never like a pointing match or someone was jealous. Like everyone was just happy that we were winning. Like we really changed the culture of that whole year off the court. The student body, they really got behind us. That was probably the best year ever. I know we weren't the furthest, but my freshman year, losing in the regional finals, and then like I could never get past that hump. Like we lost in the districts the next 2 years, which was terrible.
To Holt.
Right.
Out of all the teams, it had to be Holt.
Exactly. So that senior year for me was like, it was just special. It was just special.
Let's get right into that year, man, because I'm not going to hold back any longer. Because I mean, we talked about the year you lost to Jackson your freshman year, and then your two great seasons as a junior and as a sophomore, losing to Holt. Let's get right into that 05-06 team, man, because this is how I knew we were going to have a really good year. So it was Michigan State's team camp. We were playing, you remember, we played East Grand Rapids.
Yep.
Played East Grand Rapids. And we, for reasons I'm not going to disclose on here, we got so hyped for that game because of who we were playing against.
Yeah.
And we didn't just beat them. We absolutely killed them.
We did.
I remember it was, I think you and Jasper Bibbs had like a 2-on-1 or a 2-on-none fast break. He tosses you the ball, you go up and you flush it down one hand. And I remember our entire parent section and our entire bench just went nuts. And one of the players who was on that team, he played in the Vegas tournament with me a month later. And he asked me the question. He said, why were you guys so hyped up against us? What was that all about? And I didn't want to say why. I just said, well, that's an Okemos thing, man. I said, we get hyped up for every game. But after that game, I knew right there and then, I was like, you know what? So we got something here. But that whole summer, guys like you, me, Brad Pemble, Ivan, Bobby Albers, just to name a few, all we kept saying was, we're going to win a state championship this year.
Oh, yeah.
This is our year. Forget Holt, forget the school down the road. They had their opportunity. This year is our year. And I just felt like that whole summer, that focus was there. Every open gym, the focus was there. Every workout, the focus was there. Every practice, the focus was there. That's when I knew that we have something special here. And when did you realize that, this team has not only the potential to be really good, but the potential to be great?
I'm going to go back to that East Grand Rapids game. I remember when we beat them, it sent waves throughout the whole camp. Like
Yeah.
we went from playing in the IM West to, hey, we're in the Breslin main court after that game. You know, it was like it changed everything. Like we went from playing, like I'm saying, in IM to, okay, now you guys have the main court, or you guys are in the practice gym where Izzo's gonna be, all this. So it changed, because I believe East Grand Rapids made it to the Breslin the year before. So they had a lot of hype. They were coming in, they were returning a lot of their players. They had the tall center, they had the two Grady's so they were pretty loaded at that time. And I think when we beat them, we kind of put everybody on notice. And I think it sent the message not only to everybody else, but I think it told our own team that, hey, we can hang with these guys. Like, we have something special. And if we just bring that same intensity, if we could bring that intensity in the summer league game, just imagine what we do when we have our fans behind us, you know? So I think that I agree that was a game changer right there.
And you talk about our fans, man, like that was the craziest, rowdiest bunch of fans I have ever seen. Like I showed some of my players that I coach at Livonia Churchill High down the road from me. I showed them a video of the state championship game where you hit a 3-pointer at the buzzer and everybody just went nuts. Mm-hmm. And I showed some of our players that I said, you want to know the difference between my high school days and yours? Look at the student section. And they were just like, yeah, we don't have that. Like, why don't we have that? And so, but again, it goes back to that support, but just like the different theme nights, like Hawaiian night, Jersey night, Valentine's night, toga night, maroon out, white out, black out, like they brought it every game.
The comparison to same stadium to my freshman year when we played Jackson in the regional final at the Don J, right? It was packed. It might have been sold out, but the crowd was just different. It was more so like, we're gonna go watch the regional final because it's in Lansing, and then we had our Okemos group, but then everybody else was just spectators who wanted to see the game, right?
Yeah.
Fast forward to 06, and we have a whole student section on the left going all the way from the bottom to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And
they traveled everywhere with us.
They traveled everywhere, but just that comparison of having a whole student section that traveled no matter what, Caledonia, like they went everywhere, and they really, I don't know. It's hard for me to talk about because it was so special. Just like I remember looking back at senior night, we played Holt, and the game was sold out at noon. And they were busing people in from Chippewa because they didn't have any parking spots, and they put up TVs in the auxiliary gym. You know,
they broadcasted it live.
Yeah, they broadcasted it live in the auxiliary gym for overflow. Like, I don't think we'll ever see another game or another matchup like that.
No, I mean, let's talk about the rivalry with Holt, man. And it's amazing to me how today I talked to some Okemos players about our rivalry with Holt, and the first reaction is, wait, you and Holt were rivals? Like, why not East Lansing? I was like, well, number one, because East Lansing was not that good. And Holt was defending state champs when we played them. And they had a bunch of all-state guys on their team, like John Learman, you know, Tyler Reed was all-state in football, and Big Paul Crosby, you know, rest in peace to the big man, who they were all-state, and they were being heavily recruited by colleges.
Right.
And I tell a lot of these kids, like, you know, we sold out every game. Even my sophomore year, your junior year, we sold out at home.
We did.
Sold out at their place. And we sold out it. I don't want to say we sold out districts because those were packed crowds.
Right.
Not as packed as what we dealt with. And, you know, I mean, Holt's gym seats 300 to 3,500 people. The freshman game was sold out at 4:00.
Oh, yeah.
That's unheard of, especially today for any high school game.
Right.
And do you remember when we pulled in the parking lot at Holt, and there was this knocking on the bus, and we look out to the side, it's our student section, some of our students, you know, like John Callie and Jeff Beck, tailgating in the parking lot when it was 15 degrees outside.
Oh yeah, they got kegs of root beer.
Yeah, I remember that. And I remember that because I talked to Jeff about that on Monday at school. He goes, yeah, Meridian Township Police had to come over and check it out. And they actually fixed it, so they made sure it checked out. But that was crazy. And like, I remember just walking in, and Holt's Gym is like, it's got an indoor track with the court down below. You know, so you walk in, it's the visiting student section, and then the far end, it's the home student section.
Right.
And we walk in, our side goes nuts. We walk over their side, we're getting booed out of the building. People are flipping us off. I had like an old man flipping us off. I was like, seriously, I'm in high school, man. You are giving me the finger right now? Like, what is going on? But that's how intense the rivalry was at the time.
What people don't understand, though, just take it back to my sophomore year. We had 4 teams in the top 10 in Class A. Just in this area, you had Everett, you had Grand Ledge, you had Holt, and we were right there in like 10, falling out every now and then, you know. Just to have 4 teams in one conference in the top 10, you're gonna play a battle every night. But that's how that rivalry started. We're playing these top 10 teams every night, and it just kept growing. And then my sophomore year, Everett wins. Okay. Then we play, then Holt, my junior year, they're number 1. We're top 5, or we're right around there, you know? So we just kept building on that. And then going to my senior year, I mean, we have top 3 teams. There was the whole season. We were just trading places. If somebody lost, they beat us at their place, we dropped down. Saginaw went up. And then we're just fighting for it, you know? But that's the battles that the Lansing area had at that time, and I don't know if it'll ever be matched. Like when I look back and like, oh my God, you had 4 teams in the top 10 in one conference.
I agree with you, because if you look at our conference too, back then, from a talent standpoint, you had talent all across the board.
Oh yeah,
Goran Sutan, you had Al Horford, you had Derek Nelson, you had yourself. You know, Clyde McKinney was on there too. I keep forgetting about Clyde sometimes. You know, Jasper was over at Sexton before he came to Okemos. Gerald Busby, Duran Roberson, Paul Crosby, John Lehrman, myself, Bobby, Ivan. You know, the list goes on and on. You don't today, when you look at Lansing area basketball, and this is not a knock on, you know, the Lansing area high school players, you don't see it anymore. You don't see that high caliber of talent and that many high caliber, you know, talented teams anymore. You just don't see it as much.
No, you'll see one guy, it'll stand out, but then you start to question, how good is this league, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, back to what was that, my junior year or sophomore, you had Kangas, who was in DeWitt, who was up averaging 30 points. You had a guy in Perry, Jordan, what was his name? I don't know, but he was averaging
Sikoski.
There you go. He was averaging 30 points, shooting, crossing half court, doing the Steph Curry back then. And you know, like in that area, we had so much talent on all classes, A, B, C, and D.
Even Nate Turner at
Hazlitt, yeah. And then it was, I mean, I remember playing LCC. There were no slouch. Like, no, you knew going into there, you're gonna get a battle every time.
No, they were, man. I remember. I think it was my sophomore year. I can't remember. Yeah, we beat them at home. It wasn't by much. I think we beat them by like 2. And then the next year we go into their place and we kicked their butt. But then my senior year, when you weren't there, you know, you had Aaron Nichols, who was on the show. They started off 10-0, and then they come to our place, and then we give them their first loss. But like you said, I mean, in LCC, you know, Lansing Catholic, they won the state championship in 2008 the following year.
Yeah.
So again, like teams like that were no slouch at all.
And that's your non-conference game. So
yeah, it is. That along with Heartland and Howell and Mason, which
right.
Playing against Mason, it brought back a lot of memories, because at that time, everybody in our high school the rivalry was still fresh with them, because we had played Mason in middle school in football and basketball and every other sport. Whereas today, you know, if Okemos is playing Mason, which I'm pretty sure they play Mason every year in football, because it's kind of that tradition they do the first game of the year. But, you know, if you ask a Okemos kid today, hey, you know, how's that rivalry going with Mason? They'd be like, wait, Mason's a rivalry? Like, yeah, they were rival. They were one of our biggest rivals back in the day. Well, they're not with us. They're just a team on our schedule. Like,
I mean, my freshman year and sophomore year, they had, was it the Martin twins or Martin brothers? The Martin.
yeah, the DeMartin, yeah,
Yeah.
DeMartin, because they were really good in soccer too.
They were so good. Like they were
Hmm.
tough. They were a tough out. And then freshman or sophomore year LCC, they had like Mahoney or something, or Maloney.
Yeah,
Like those teams were so tough and they were so well coached and executed. Like I would compare them or those type of teams to how you compare Clarkston. You know what you're gonna get. You're gonna get hard screens. You're gonna get elbows. You're gonna get boxed out every time. And so going back to that summer before my senior year, I remember we played Clarkston.
Oh, that's right, we did.
We played Clarkston, and that was another test, and we beat them. And I'm like, okay, we can. That was a tough game for a summer league game. Like I was tired. We were getting.
We all were.
We're getting. I'm like, they're setting screens. They're putting, and that was like, that fueled Coach Stokes. She was like, you see them? They're being tough with you. I just remember. I'm like, okay, yeah, this can't happen.
Yeah, and I remember we came out firing on all cylinders. After that too. I want to ask you this: out of the wins, out of the games we played, Holt, win or lose, what was your favorite one?
Had to be senior night.
Yeah, that was pretty
senior night, and I think I had like 7 points.
The lowest scoring game you had in your Okemos career.
Out of the Holt series, I think I've had 30 games. I've had, all types of games, 40, 30. But that one, because we were home, we revenged our loss earlier at third place. And that was the battle for number one because I think Tuesday, Saginaw lost.
Yeah, they lost to Arthur Hill, I'm pretty sure.
They lost to Arthur Hill. And so that upcoming week, there's going to be a new number one. We were sitting at 3. Hope was at 2. So we're like, hey, this is the battle for number one. And the game just got blown out. Like it was talked everywhere, though. This is the ticket to see everybody. And then I remember coming out for warm-ups and that wall behind the left, right there at the front.
Yeah.
All coaches.
Yeah, I remember that.
All coaches. And they actually put chairs there. Two chairs, 2 rows of chairs, like 20. I'm like, this is nuts. Like we don't have a baseline anymore.
I remember earlier that week leading up to the game, the Breslin Center had called Fro, Keith Fralick, our athletic director at the time, and they wanted to host the game. They wanted to host it. And I remember Fro came and talked to us, said, it's your guys' decision. You're the home team. What do you want to do? And we all just looked at each other like, no, like this is our home gym. It's a big compliment that you want to host our game like that, but we'll see you guys a month from now. We'll be there in a month from now. But right now, no. Senior night, like this is our night. So Fro was like, I remember seeing him the next day after having that talk. He goes, you know what I got to do now? Like I'm on the phone all day instead of making it a simple task of hosting at the Brez. Like I got to do this. I'm like, well, what else you got to do? He goes, well, for one, we're gonna have probably like get you guys out of school early that day after the pep rally. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna complain about that. I mean, but what else is the problem? He goes, well, I got to move the freshman game up a day. I'm like, I'm pretty sure those freshman kids are going to thank you because a lot of those kids said to me they almost crapped their pants in front of.
They don't want to play in that crowd.
No. And that was cool because after team dinner, we all went over there and watched that game, which was awesome. And then then he talked about, well, the game's going to be broadcasted live because I don't think people are going to be able to get in here. I was like, man, like you mean to tell me that, I get to tell my kids and grandkids that one of my high school games was broadcasted live and people went to the sports bar to watch it? Yeah, I'm all in for that. But do you remember the pep rally? Do you remember afterwards, Holt student section was lined up outside our school. Yep. They had gotten a half day. They were lined up outside our school and like Durham and, Mr. Verrill and Dr. Lanzetta, our principals, had to like escort everybody around to a different exit because they didn't want to start fights, that day. And I was like, man, like this is never gonna happen again. And you just gotta like sit back and embrace that moment. And then my usual parking spot was taken, obviously, because by 3:30 the lot was packed.
So what I did, I rode with Pimble, and I double parked. So I double
remember
parked
that.
my car, and I rode with Pimble. So I was like, hey, we're never going to park again. So that's what we did.
Did you hear what Ben Burmeister did?
No, what?
So he hid in Coach Stoltz's locker room, his office locker. So when school was over, he just took his stuff, ran right to Stoltz's office locker room and hid in there. But eventually they checked all the locker rooms and all the doors to make sure everybody was out of the building. So
Right.
got caught and was taken out. But I remember just driving by the school, seeing and I was like, oh, I'll park in the football stadium lot. Nope. Well, I'll park in the high school lot. Nope. All right. Looks like I'm going to Chippewa. I'm not going to bust over from there. And I remember just walking in the side door because, that's where they told us to go. I put my stuff in the locker room. I had no idea what to expect. I walk out and then this is my reaction. Like I looked around, it was 4:45. I got there so early. I had to go in the training room sitting there because all that adrenaline rush just hit me just seeing that crowd. And I'm like, okay, look at this for a minute and then go back, sit in the training room and just put your headphones on and get taped early. But that had to have been the craziest atmosphere. Like as far as like home games go for us, that nothing will ever top that. No. And honestly, Okemos High School may never see that again.
No, that was by far the best student section that whole year. And they did toga night.
Yeah. That was funny. My personal favorite to me was regionals because it's not every day that Don Johnson Fieldhouse, and for those of you listening, Don Johnson Fieldhouse is home to Lansing Eastern. It's not every day that Fieldhouse, which seats anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 people, it's not every day that thing gets sold out.
Right.
That place was sold out for a 6:00 game at 3:00.
Yes, it was.
And I remember Stoltz got us there like 2 hours before the game. And he was like, all right, we're going to get here around 4:00. You guys can warm up for an hour and we'll go through our, normal, pregame routine. We walked in there, the whole place was packed. I was like, man. And then after the game, like they tried to hold our entire high school back from not rushing the court. And one of my colleagues who was a retired police sergeant, he worked the game. And he remembered telling me, he said they had to open up that giant door there. But you remember the giant door where it had the Quaker Lansing Eastern logo on it? They had to open that door so people can get out, so they can let Matawan and Dexter fans in on the other side. I
remember that.
I was like, that'd have been just crazy, man. But so we're on our way to the Breslin Center, and I don't think you and I have ever talked about this. And if we have, it's been years. So for those of you that don't know, we lost in the state championship game 85-84 in double overtime. Jonathan had the game of his life, 38 points. I chipped in with a tiny 23 points and 9.
Tiny.
Just a tiny bit. So we had 61 of the team's 84 points, which that's a pretty insane number if you think about it. But there was a call in that game to this day that is still talked about. A lot of people call it the Phantom Five. So what the Phantom Five is, for those of you listening, is Jonathan had the ball with about 20 seconds left or something like that. Game was tied. The game plan was, let Jonathan win the damn game for us. It's his time to shine. It's his time to take us home, win us a championship. Worst case scenario, we'll go to a third overtime and then we'll take it from there. So you get the ball, you come up, you cross over, guy backs off of you, you back off of him, and whistle blows, it's a 5-second call. But what's so messed up about the call is the call was made from behind the play, not to the side where the referee was standing right in front of you. And just kind of talk to me, man, about what was going through your mindset after all that went down.
It was a lot that was going on. It was like you try to want to focus and try to get to the next play, try to, but it's kind of deflating because you knew that was the possession right there. And it was either going to win the game, like you just said, or go to another overtime. So for it to be taken away and not even have a chance to get a shot, that's the part that hurt the most. But then I go to plays before that too, though. Like I haven't watched the game, but I just know like it was so many little things before that 5-second call that I could have done that we could have won that game. I believe we were up. It was like 40 seconds left, and we're up 3, and I'm at the free throw line. Could have put us up 4, and I missed the second of the free throw. Made the first one, missed the second one. I'm like, oh, they go down and get an and one. Like things like that. Or then I think I was throwing a pass to you, and you're 7'2", and I threw it at your knees, and they stole it. And I'm like, those little things hurt even more because that call, it was a referee call, but a lot of those things before is what I could have done. I could have made the free throw. I could have threw you a better pass, or it was, I think, another instance. I can't remember, but it was like a couple things that led up to that call that I look back and I'm like, man, we had it.
We did. And it's still considered one of the greatest Class A state championship games of all time because it had everything, man. It had drama, it had hype, it just had everything, man. And, it's funny. It just amazes me, man, how to this day people still talk about it. I remember before, I don't want to say before every game, but mostly for every game, I went out and warmed up at Michigan State. Will Tiemann, who's the play-by-play guy at Michigan State. God love Will. He's a great human being. But every time he sees me, Anthony, how you doing, buddy? I don't know why, but every time I see you, I'm always reminded of that Okemos Arthur Hill game. And I'm like, Will, like, come on, man. Like, do you really have to remind me about that? Like, one of the most heartbreaking days of my life, man. Like,
that's why I don't go to Okemos. No, I'm joking. No, I was, where was I at? I think my mom told me that, yeah, somebody was like, that's a bad call. I'm like 20 years later, like, it's okay. It's okay. I haven't even thought about it. But it's like during high school basketball, I'll watch it on TV, and you kind of think back like, dang, we missed out on an opportunity.
But it still didn't take away, how much fun we had that year, and just, what kind of a great team we had, and just the camaraderie we had, and just the group of guys that we were around. I mean, that's something that people can't take away from us. And I've always told people that, I don't care what anybody says, it's still one of the greatest Okemos teams of all time. And until somebody wins a Class A state championship at Okemos, which we always root for every year, that's still one of the greatest teams of all time. And I have arguments with the Class B state championship guys like Greg Mitchell. I always say to him, like, yeah, we would have whooped you guys. He's like, no, we were quicker than you. I'm like, no, you weren't. Like, we would have beaten you.
Definitely, yeah, we would have.
So season's over now. So now you have your decision of where you want to go next. And I remember some of the final teams you had on your list were, and correct me if I'm wrong, I remember Akron was on that list, Toledo, I think Bowling Green and Dayton were probably in that mix too, and obviously Oakland.
Right.
What kind of separated Oakland from the other 4 schools you were looking at?
I'm not even gonna lie, I was going to commit to Akron.
Really?
Yeah, I was gonna commit to Akron, but I believe at that time Shaka Smart was the assistant coach, and we were tight. We were talking all the time.
Wait, hold on. Shaka Smart was at Akron?
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he called me. He was like, "Hey, so and so is about to commit. I just want to give you a heads up. So if you want to come, you have to come now." And I'm like on my way to spring break.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So I'm like, okay, if I come back home and the roster's already taken, whatever. I come back home. What? Fast forward, rewind. I'm in Mexico for spring break, and Coach Campy and Coach Smitty send me like a note to my hotel, like, "Hey, hope you're having fun in the sun. Come and be a Grizzly." I'm like, how did they find me? This is crazy. So I get home.
Oh, man.
I get home and I'm like, okay, Dayton, somebody committed. Toledo, I wasn't really going to Toledo. I don't know, I just wasn't feeling the vibe down there. And then soon, I think the coach got fired like the next year, which is probably a good thing I didn't go. And then Akron, I still waited on Oakland. I was like, oh, I can go there. I was waiting to see if Clyde was going to go there also because he was in JUCO.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up not going, which ultimately pointed me there. But I remember Akron, they called me back like a day before I was about to sign with Oakland. And he was like, "Oh, the guy who committed, he didn't pass his test, the ACT or something. Do you still want to come?" I'm like, no. Like you took that, you took him over me basically. So then the next
Mm-hmm.
day I went and signed to Oakland.
See, I never knew that, man. Like that's crazy. That's really crazy. And I think it's even crazier that, Campy and Smitty sent you a letter.
It was weird. It was weird. Like, I remember coming back to the resort and they're like, "Hey, you have a message." I'm like, "What?" I thought, "Oh, they're trying to sell me something." I read it, it's like a OU card. I'm like, "Oh, this is crazy."
They probably had like some private investigator following you down to
Seriously.
something, man. So you get to Oakland, man, and what was it your expectation to start from day one?
It was not my expectation. I knew that Campy would say, "Hey, if you come in, you'll play your freshman year." That's all I was asking for. He was like, "You'll play your freshman year." I'm like, "Okay, that's cool." Like, boom, I'll come in, and we go to Canada for like our preseason or like our summer tour, how they do now.
Mm-hmm.
We go to Canada, and first game I don't start. I play a lot of minutes. I played pretty well. And the second game, he's like, "Hey, Jonathan, you're gonna start." And then that second game on in preseason, I started the rest of the games for the whole rest of my career.
I was gonna say you never look back after that.
Yeah, but it was more so, I think, just the confidence that everything that I learned in high school, though. Like I felt like I was ready. I felt like I went to a mid-major, but the teachings that I had from Coach Stoltz and the coaches before, I was ready to go and impact on that level.
So kind of talk about Coach Campy real quick, because I've seen Campy animated on the sidelines before. I've seen him intense before. Just kind of talk about, what was it like playing under him, and what were some of the things, he brought to the table when it came to coaching?
Oh, he's gonna ride for you. He is going to ride for you. He'll take a bullet in the press conference, but he'll let you know about it in the locker room. Like he'll take all the blame, like, "Oh, so and so missed this." No, that's not the reason. You can't point it there. He'll take the blame for what happened. That maybe I could have coached different. And it was kind of it was weird going from Coach Stoltz, who only swore. I don't think he swore. He got mad one time and broke the clipboard one time out of my 4 years.
I remember that. It was at Heartland. He threw that thing halfway across the room and it hit the wall and shattered.
Yeah.
He swore at me my senior year because
he never swore.
No.
But it was weird going to Campy and then I'm getting
chewed out
every cuss word in the book. And then it was a learning curve because my assistant coach, Sadi Washington, who's at Michigan now.
Yep.
He was like, one ear and out the other. Take what he was trying to teach you and just keep it moving. Like, he's not going to take you out. That's basically what he said. He was like, he's not going to take you out. He just wants you to learn. I remember freshman year, we're playing Pittsburgh. At Pittsburgh, he calls a timeout and he comes to half court and he meets me there. And he's just in my ear he doesn't say anything to anybody else the whole timeout. Just me. He's in my ear. And then the horn goes off. He's like, "All right, go." He like slaps me on the butt. "All right, go." I'm like, I'm so confused. I'm like, you just called the timeout, met me at half court, chewed me out, and then gave me a pep talk and said, "Go." That from there on out, I was like, okay, you just have to take what he's saying, process it, forget all the words, and then just go out there and do what he wants you to do.
See, I think that's what makes a really good coach is that, I've always loved the saying that if a coach is on you, you're good.
Right.
If not saying anything to you, then you should be worried.
Right.
And, I think the one thing that makes both Campy and Coach Izzo the same is that they're going to get on you. They're going to be in your face because they want perfection from you from a basketball standpoint and off the court. But if you do your job, they're going to pat you on the back and say, "Hey, good job." And I think that's what makes Campy, up there with some of the greats, as far as coaching goes.
Yeah, I mean, he has a, I don't want to call it an old school way, but
Mhm.
he is he'll he'll tell you to do something. If you do it, you're golden. I don't
Yep.
even care if it's wrong. If he says, Jonathan, I want you to score in the opposite basket, give them 2 points because I want it.
Mhm.
And you do it, he's fine with it. As long
Yep.
as you did what he told you to do, he's golden. And then like once you understand that as a player, and it's just raising your level of I don't even know what the right word to say. Just raising your level of detail. Like he just
Yep.
wants the details. And I see that in Izzo. I watch him. Like, I mean, we all played, so you'll know when a play is messed up.
Yeah.
He sees it. I don't know how he sees it. He's looking at 20 different things, but he sees that one person who didn't set the right screen, and he's gonna let you know about it because that one possession, it might have been the first half, 17 minutes or 3 minutes into the game, but that's the one play that stuck out to him, you know?
Mhm.
He's gonna come back and let you know, like, because if he doesn't do that, then 2 minutes later you're gonna miss another one. And
Right.
it's gonna be a snowball effect. So you want to nip it in the bud right then and there.
No, absolutely. So, looking at your career, man, you were a three-time All-League selection. In your career, we already mentioned that you started every game. excuse me, every game at Oakland. You set a school record in minutes played. You tied the school record for the all-time winningest player over a 4-year career with 85 wins. And you rank in a bunch of categories here, man. And yeah, I did write them all down here. I mean, third all-time in school history in steals, 11th in league history, 10th all-time in points with over 1,674, 18th on the league all-time scoring list. Free throw percentage was almost 82%, which is tied for 10th in league history and fourth school history. And you're the only Oakland University player to surpass 1,300 points and 800 assists. Because the one stat I wanted to save last was you ended up being the Summit League career holder in assists with 814, and you led the NCAA your junior year in assists, and you were a mid-major All-America selection too. Just when you look back at your career, man, and everything that you accomplished, you know, when you hear of all the accolades during your time at Oakland, overall, like, were you satisfied with how everything went at Oakland? Were you satisfied with your career and everything that you did there?
Definitely satisfied. I mean, the assist record is nice, but I think the minutes played, I
Mhm.
think that's probably one that I take a lot of pride in because you show the durability. Um, and I really took care of my body. Like that's one thing I pride myself, even going on from middle school on. Like I never had an injury. I was kind of like, I'm not gonna say I worked out heavy because look at me, I'm like 167 soaking wet. But I really took pride in my body recovery. Like I was the last one to leave the locker room because I'm icing, I'm doing all this stuff, and I just tried to carry that in my career, averaging 36 minutes a game, and that wears on you, and to not miss a game with injury. Like I played through injuries and everything, but I think that's probably one of the biggest um, records or accomplishments that I take to the heart.
I was gonna say because I don't think I remember you getting injured at all in high school and even at Oakland. Like I don't remember you even spraining a pinky or anything like that in high
Yeah,
school. Like like you said, it's all about making sure you taking care of yourself, off the court as well. Because I think that's the one thing today that I think the younger generation of athletes forget sometimes is that sometimes when there's a lot of pressure on you to do what you need to do and kind of be the man or, the best player in your school, I think sometimes a lot of these kids today forget to take care of themselves,
sure.
from a mental standpoint and from a physicality standpoint.
For sure. I mean, I remember Campy used to say, consistency is the hallmark of greatness. Just be consistent. So I should have saved that for the end of the quote, uh, but no, he used to say that all the time. So I used to just, you can't be consistent if you're hurt, if you're not taking care of your body. And I think there was a gap between with like the younger players now taking care of their body, but I think how they see some of the NBA players, what they're doing now, like LeBron, D Wade when he was playing, and Kevin Durant, how they're taking and investing in their body. I think people are starting to look at that now and like, oh, maybe I should. Like, you're not going to be one of these great players who have 10 plus years career if you aren't going to take care of your body. Look at Chris Paul. This man he's 5'11" on a good day, and he's out there in the middle of everything, still killing it. You know what I mean? Hurt shoulder, hurt finger. You know what? That's come because his body is prepared for all that.
Right. And he's still probably got 3 more good years left in him too.
Easily.
Which is ridiculous. And then obviously you got the honor to play professionally, in Slovakia, Germany, and Bosnia. What were some of the things that you learned, number one, your first year as a pro, and then as over time, the more and more you play professionally?
It's a business. You're not on scholarship anymore. This is strictly a business. And one of the vets when I was over there, he said, "Hey, it's a game within a game." And I'm like, "What does that mean? What are you talking about?" He's like, "It's a game within a game." And like now here in the US, they're just getting onto like evaluation points and everything. Like, oh, so and so had a evaluation in the game of 55. Like he had 10 points, 16. Like he had like an efficient game, basically your efficiency. Over there, that's what they look at. And I had one player, like we were losing. I think it was like 6. We were down by 6 with like 40 seconds left, or maybe more than that. He's like, I gave him the ball. He passed it right back. I'm like, "What are you doing? You're open." He was like, "It's a game within a game." This man he was like 7 for 8. He was like 7.
He passed it up.
Pass it up. He's like, "I'm not about to mess up. If I miss it, now I'm going 7 for 9. Now my efficiency goes." Now he's like, "No, it's a game. The game's already over." I'm like, that's what I can never get like that.
Wow.
But it's really a game within a game. And like, as you move up in different levels, like I started off in Slovakia, which is like one of the lowest leagues, but you prove yourself and you move on. And I went to Germany, and that was a great experience. And like, you really learn, like over there, the higher leagues you go, you're going to get about 25 minutes, 30 at most. But they like, when you're out there, you're giving it your all. Like you're picking up full court. Like this isn't the NBA. This is like a higher level of college. Like I'm like, "Oh, I'm a pro now. I'll pick you up at half court." What?
No.
Serbian coach like, "Pick him up as soon as he gets the ball." I'm like, "You mean Dennis Schroeder, this little fast guy?" "Yeah, okay. Pick him up full court." Like that's what they want and that's what they demand. And it was a grind. I'm happy I went through it. 5 years. I was like, all right, that's enough for me.
I remember, I think it was after your first year back in Slovakia, you and I got together at Okemos and just did like a workout in the gym. And I remember, I was talking to you about that. I was like, what was it like playing overseas? And I remember the first thing you said to me was, "It's not what you think it is."
No.
It's not what you think it is. And because I remember you were talking to me about, the money piece, the money aspect of it. And I remember you telling me how, there are leagues where there are leagues where you can make a buttload of money, aka Italy, France, the UK, etc., Greece. But then there's also the ones where you're not gonna make a whole lot, and you may get $8,000.
Right.
And I was like, maybe it's not worth it in the long run.
Not worth it. I remember like my first year, I had a US agent, and I'm like, why am I having a US? Like you have technology now, I can Skype somebody. He was stealing money from me. Like he'll have a contract, he'll cut the money up, and I'm like, so I just went with a European agent. Once I got over there, I'm like, I have a cell phone, I can download Skype, I can FaceTime him. Like the way we have technology now, I don't need this guy over here. So you just learn a lot. It's a great learning experience though. Like get to travel, get to see a lot of the world, and you get to play great basketball.
And that's something that, like you said, was one of the many highlights of your professional career, like right there. I think for me, if I would have went overseas, which, a lot of people don't know this, I had teams like, call me and ask me, and I was like, nah, like I'm good. But I also thought about somebody like myself who was on the autism spectrum. I don't think I could have handled, from the different language aspect, from a culture aspect, and from being alone or just being alone.
That's the biggest thing. It's lonely over there.
Yeah.
Like, it is lonely. Like it's a 6-hour time difference. Like it's when you want to talk to somebody, they're
sleeping.
Yeah, they're sleeping. It's weird, and it's like it brought me back to like summer camps. You know, like you're going to a summer camp and you don't know anybody. You're just on your own, and it was like I'm a 15-year-old, and it was weird. It was a huge adjustment. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but looking back, I don't know if I would have done it. Like, just everything you go through, and then you look at where you could have been, and if you went a different route and everything. So, I don't know. It's a great experience. It's a great talking piece, but unless you're going to, like you said, one of those top leagues from the get-go, I don't know if putting in that grind for 2 or 3 years to finally reach a high level, and you're like, I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah, and I remember you telling me like your schedule was practice in the morning and then come home, and then practice in the afternoon and then come home, and I'm back to sleep. And I remember you telling me that schedule. I was like, man, like if that sounds like a Michigan State schedule or Oakland, like 2-a-day practices and just go back to your dorm or apartment, take a nap for like a couple hours, and then you're back at it again. Like I was like, I don't know if I would have been comfortable with all that.
Yeah, it's not like you're here with your family,
right?
And in between practice, like my girlfriend, wife now at the time, she was flying back and forth, so it wasn't like I had somebody with me who can, hey, let's go out to eat real quick or do this.
Right.
It was a totally different experience. I'm not going to tell anybody not to do it, but I would just say do your research before, do your research.
No, that's definitely good advice. I do want to ask you this question before we get into the fun part of the podcast, which is the rapid fire questions. So obviously, I like to tell people all the time, man, that our relationship, maybe in my opinion, man, like, it was beyond basketball, because off the court, you always had my back. You also gave me the other nickname of Guy, which I remember just in the hallway at high school one day. I'm walking to class, I see you walking my way, and all of a sudden I hear this loud Guy. I was like, okay, we're going by Guy now. I like that. Okay. But our relationship, man, went beyond the basketball court. And I think that's why I've always been so thankful to have a relationship, a friendship, that I've had with you for so long. Did you know after I was brought up on varsity, did you know at all that I was on the autism spectrum, or no?
I did not. I just thought you were extra quiet. And I'm like, yo, we got to get, like, what's wrong with them? Like, we'll have a team dinner. You go over there and start playing video games. I'm like, hey, AI, you want to come over here? So I'm like, and then just getting to know you, talking to you, and I'm like, all right, he's quiet, whatever. He's a little standoffish. I was looking at it as like, oh, he's a freshman, he's up, or he's soft, he's up. Mm-hmm. That's how I was. I would go there. I'm like, I don't know any of these guys. They're all friends. They have their little inside jokes, and I would just go off to the side. So I kind of saw that, and I'm like, huh. Then actually talking to you, understanding your background, and actually understanding your parents and talking to them as well, Mm-hmm. I think that was one of the biggest things. I just saw, to be honest, I didn't know what the hell it meant.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay. I'm a 16-year-old kid. Well, okay, whatever. He's one of guys, whatever. Just I didn't see anything different. I mean, it's not on the same level, but being a African American going into a predominantly white school, you see people put their arm around you all the time. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like, I see you. I don't see anything different. You're my teammate, and I'm going to look out after you.
And I think that was the really cool part, was that if there were times where the joking went too far with me, you immediately looked at me, and then the conversation went in a different direction within the guys. And not just you, like Mike Emerson was like that with me too. And,
sure.
And this is how I knew, man, that our relationship, was going to grow even more. And I think it was, we had beat Everett. This was my sophomore year, your junior year. We had just beaten Everett. We went to Applebee's like we did every Friday night after games. And I needed a ride home, and Ivan couldn't take me home because he was going somewhere else. But then, you said, I'll take you home, no big deal. So I remember driving home. I remember saying to you, and I didn't play at all. It was like my third straight game of not playing. And I was just so upset. I remember saying to you, like, I was like, JJ, like, I could play against Everett. I could play against Sexton. Like, I don't know what else Stoltz wants me to do. And I remember you saying to me, you know, you just need to be ready because I've had the conversation with Stoltz that we need you. And because I remember there were some questions at the time between Stoltz and Briggs, whether I can keep up with the pace of the game with Sexton and the Everetts and the Easterns of the world.
Right.
And I remember you saying to me, you know, I've seen you play AAU. You played against the best in the country. Like, guys who are super faster and play at a much higher pace than anybody in Lansing does. Like, I know you can do this. And Stoltz knows because I'm going to keep reminding him about it. But just stay where you're at, keep getting better because we're going to need you. And I remember, like, just that conversation, I was like, you know what? This is more than just, you know, a teammate one-on-one. Like, this is a friendship that, you know, I'm developing with this guy right now. And so, and it's carried on to this day. Like, even when I was at Grand Valley State, you were always checking in on me. Even at Michigan State, when we played against each other, when we beat your guys' asses by about 50.
Oh my God.
you were still checking in on me no matter what. Even to this day, like, you know, we're always checking up on each other, making sure everybody's good. You're about to move to Northville, so now you have no excuse. We have no more excuses not to see each other now because you live right up the street from me.
Right.
And like, just everything, man. And, you know, I can't thank you enough for everything, for the advice you've given me, for continuing to support me and have my back. And, you know, we had a lot of fun at Okemos, man. But, you know, the older we get, man, we're always still going to have each other's backs. I mean, that's not going to change.
Hey, I'm always going to have your back. I remember when you just started your whole speaking engagements and everything, and we met up for a coffee in downtown Lansing. Remember that?
Oh, I remember that very well.
Remember that? Hey, that was like a proud moment. Like, I'm like, hey, you're doing so well. I'm proud of you. But, you know, I think going back to high school, like, I don't know. You see somebody who's sitting off to the side, and with our team, that wasn't right. Like, I don't care who it was. I was going to make sure that you were one of us. And I didn't care if somebody was talking crazy to you. I was going to check them right then and there. No, that's not how we're getting down. Like you said, Mike Emerson and other guys as well. Like, no, this not happening. Like, what? Like, you better be nice, because once you realize that he's 6'9", you're not gonna want to say that to him.
Real quickly, we were playing Jackson, you know, senior year at home, your senior year, my junior year at home, and this was the season before I had broken and displaced my humerus bone. I don't know if you remember that injury or not. And I remember some kid from Jackson, I was going up for a rebound and he kind of undercut me, not to the point where I could have just fallen on my back really hard. Like, I kind of caught myself and I kind of like slid down his back a little bit and I caught myself, but he immediately turned around and he was standing right over me talking trash. And all of a sudden, Mike Emerson just comes out of nowhere and just shoves the guy away. I was like, it's like, man, I'm like, this is how tight knit our team is, man. Like, if somebody's going to talk trash to one of us, like, we're going to push you out of the way. And I think that's something that a lot of people, like, not a lot of teams in our league didn't expect. You didn't expect somebody from Okemos.
I was going to say that, like, I don't think they expected Okemos. Like, anytime we went to Lansing, we played Sexton, Everett, Eastern, one of them. We knew we were going in for a dogfight, but it meant more. Like, it wasn't just the basketball. It was like, hey, we're going in here as all 13, 12 of us, and we're gonna whoop their butt and get out of here together. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Jackson as well. Like, Jackson was a hostile environment. We went down there.
Oh, it was
always, and we went in there together. Hey, no, that's not happening. I don't care what you think you're doing. No, we got everybody's back. But that's just how the team was. This is how it was. I remember Bobby got into it with one guy. Who was it? It was, I can't remember. I'm going down the rabbit hole. I don't know.
Was it now I'm trying to remember it now. Because I remember I remember because I was on the bench and so I remember it now. So it was somebody, we were playing Eastern and I think like Jasper missed a dunk or whatever. And then Bobby started, I can't remember who it was from Eastern. He started jawing with Jasper, talking trash to him. Bobby went after him on the next play, blocked the shot, started jawing with him.
Right.
And a fight almost broke out because I remember I got up on the bench. Tom Stout had to push me back and go, hey, no, you're not getting suspended. We don't need you to. You sit your butt on the bench. I'm like, Tom, I'm just getting up. I don't care. Sit down. I'm like, geez, like, all right. No, I remember that. Bobby was jawing with that guy. But again, stepping up to the plate and defending our guys, man.
We had a feisty group.
We did. And Tom Stout, man, God bless him. No, sit down. Dude, I'm just standing up. No.
Right.
All right, Tom. I got you, Tom. No worries. Oh, man. You know what, man? I'm going to try and find a way to make sure we have our reunion this upcoming holiday season, because we all need to get together, man. I mean,
even if we do like a football game or something, we definitely have to do it.
And
I'm down. If you need help from me, I'll help. I'll reach out to guys as well. But yeah, I agree. We definitely need to, especially after the year that we had.
Oh yeah, and I'm going to continue to advocate to Brian Fuller, who's the athletic director of Okemos High School. I'm going to continue to advocate to him and say, hey, put us in the Hall of Fame, man. Like this team deserves it.
It's coming. It's coming.
It needs to happen, dude. It needs to happen. So, all right, man, you ready to have a little fun here?
Let's do it.
All right. So we have 10 rapid fire questions for you. These are serious, goofy, however you want to portray them. So the first question, JJ, I like to call it the master's question because it is a traditional question unlike any other. So question number 1, strawberry or grape jelly?
Strawberry.
Question number 2, your favorite gym you've played in?
All levels?
All levels.
Oh, Kansas.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot you guys played in Allen Fieldhouse.
Allen Fieldhouse.
That's
the floor was shaking.
Really?
The floor was shaking.
Wow. I mean, I've been there just walking around the arena and seeing it in person, but I've never been to a game before. That's like a bucket list right there. Question number 3, Madden or NCAA football?
NCAA football.
Mm-hmm. I remember those team dinners, man, getting on the sticks and beating you once or twice.
Back in the day, get Kansas State run that triple option. Couldn't be.
Oh my God. or you just do what I did with Ohio State and throw it up to Ted Ginn Jr. at each and every single time.
Hey, can't lose.
You can. All right. Question number 4. Is it true you dunked in 8th grade?
Yes, I did. We were running it was a 1-2-2 half court trap, and I was on the wing. The ball was being trapped over there, and I had to come up to the top to cover the guy. Got a steal. I think it was at Kalamazoo Fieldhouse. Okay.
Man, I had to confirm that because it was all those rumors in high school. I was like, man, did he really? All right, now I have confirmation. Question number 5: best motivational speaker not named Anthony Ianni.
Oh, ouch! I don't even. Oh my God! I'm gonna just go with you. I can't even think. You put me on the spot right now.
Man, you're too kind, bro. You're too kind. All right. Question number 6. Your favorite class you took at Okemos High School?
Anatomy, Miss Tandock. My favorite.
Oh, yeah. Can never go wrong with Tandock's anatomy class, man. Can never go wrong. All right. Question number 7. Friday nights on the field or Friday nights in the gym?
Gym.
Love it. Question number 8. Your dream vacation?
Amalfi Coast, drive up, and then just go eat all Italian food. I don't care. I just want it, pasta and all.
I love that, man. All right. So question number 9. These two places are Okemos food joints. So for those of you in Okemos, go check them out. Question number 9: backyard barbecue or Big John steak and onion?
Put me on the spot. Big John. Yeah,
that's a pretty strong answer, man.
You gotta put the sauce in there too.
Gotta do it. I may go back home now just to steak and onion after this. All right, last question. Who do you admire the most?
Just like how we're doing with this.
I mean, it could be anybody you want, man. It could be mom and dad. It could be your wife. It could be teammates, coaches, whatever you want.
So I'll go with my parents, And then being on this show, I would say just like, so my parents, I'll start with them. They went to every basketball game, AAU, everything, traveled everywhere. It was nuts. Like just that support that they gave me, putting me in all different camps. I'm in eighth grade, seventh grade. Like it was, I don't know how they did it. I appreciate it. But just seeing your maturity over the years, can't believe you have 2 kids. It's still mind blowing. But yeah, man, I just love the trajectory that you're on. Like you going back to Okemos and giving them a speech. Like if I would have known that in high school that hey, I was gonna be back here on stage giving a talk to these kids, I'd be like, maybe, but like that's just, I don't know. It's like a big brother moment. Like I'm the youngest of 4, but I look at you as like a little brother. And it's like, I'm just proud of you, man. For real.
Like I said, man, I appreciate everything you've done for me, man. And it's the same with me, man. Like I've always considered you a big brother who's always had my back. And, I'm like you, I'm the littlest in the family. I got one older sister. I've never had an older brother, but you've definitely been like an older brother to me, man. And that's never going to change. You can believe that.
Definitely not. And I'm moving closer to Northfield, so get ready for those links, man. I'm getting
links. I'm also going to have you work out my kids, man, with basketball. I mean, my oldest Knox is already shooting on a 10-foot rim with a men's ball. So
what?
Yep.
I might be able to show them a couple things.
Hey, whatever tricks you got in the bag, man.
I got you.
All right. You know what? Before we get to the last part of I'm going to throw in a fun question, number 11 here. And for those of you listening that don't know, Okemos Public Schools is going through a name change. We were the Chieftains in high school. Then it was changed in 2011 to Chiefs. And 10 years later, they are dropping the name completely, and we are no longer the Okemos Chiefs. However, you and I will always be referred to as Chiefs for life because that's what we graduated under. That's never going to change. But question number 11, just a fun one. What should our new mascot name be?
Oh my gosh. Can we do like the C's or something to try to keep it? Like, I don't know.
Oh, man.
Like, we got to figure out something. Like
the Okemos Cheetahs.
No. No.
You said something with a C, so that's a C.
Yeah, but that's terrible. I don't know. You're putting me on the spot. I mean, I guess she got what she wanted. I'm not gonna say any names.
No, I mean we'll talk about more, off air. All right, I got one. How about the Okemos Locomotives in honor of J Train?
Whoa!
There you go.
I can co-sign that. I like that.
The Okemos Locomotives have a giant train outside the stadium every time, like Purdue, every time they score a touchdown.
I like that.
Just do it, man. All right, JJ, last thing I have all my guests do on the show is to give our listeners a positive message for the week. So you, sir, have the floor. Go for it.
Just gonna say you're gonna run into a lot of obstacles. Just know that if you keep treading and keep pushing forward, you're gonna come out on top. Just put your best foot forward and just keep working hard, and everything is gonna work out.
I love it, man. Short, straight to the point. Ladies and gentlemen, he is my big brother, my point guard. I like to call us the Kobe and Shaq of Okemos High School back in the day. He is an Oakland University all-time great, Lansing legend himself, Johnathon Jones. JJ, it's been a privilege, man, to see you, to just basically catch up with everything we're up to these days and just reminiscing on the glory days. Cannot thank you enough for coming on, man. It was awesome.
I appreciate it. And I will definitely come back whenever you need me to, man. It was a true honor.
I appreciate that, brother. Love you, man.
Love you too.
I want to thank Johnathon again for coming on to the show today. Again, just super awesome just to see him and catch up and chat with him, and basically just bringing back the old great memories that, our high school days brought, and just reliving all the great rivalries and the games we had with Holt High School and the championship games we were a part of. Just an awesome conversation. And I can't thank JJ enough for coming on. And, you know, the one thing I've always learned about my relationship with JJ is just how much support that we have for one another. And he brought up about how, you know, if there were times where I was sitting in a corner by myself at a team dinner, you know, he was always the one to pull me back over to the guy and say, hey, man, come hang with us. And I think my positive message of the week is going to be along those same lines, is that especially for the younger kids out there listening to this, if you see somebody who is either sitting alone in the cafeteria, or if you're on a team and you see somebody in the corner by themselves, you know, don't be, walk over there, talk to them, be a friend to them, get to know them, and just let them know that, hey, we got your back because we're a part of a team here. We're a part of a family. That's what our program and our culture is about. And for Jonathan and him and my other upperclassmen teammates to do that for me was incredible, because it showed me that they had my back no matter what. And if things went too far, I wasn't afraid to say to them, hey, kind of back off a little bit. And that's what happened. And they treated me like family. They treated me like I was their little brother, and they still do to this day. But the one thing I always got out of them was kindness. There's a reason why I said I wish I would have graduated in Okemos High School's class of 2006, because a lot of those guys and gals in that class treated a lot of people with kindness and respect. And again, that's not a dig at my own graduating class, but those guys and gals in that class of 06 were leaders. And I looked up to them because of everything, just the little things they did. You know, being there for the younger kids at our high school, for the younger classes, being there for me, always pulling me into the group, not letting me be, an outsider or a loner. So be like the class of 2006. Be a great leader. Don't let anybody be a loner. Don't let anybody be an outsider. Don't let anybody be a bystander. Be a leader. Sit down with that person at the lunch table at lunch. Get to know your teammates and let them know that, hey, we're part of a family and we're going to be in this through thick and thin, and treat each other with kindness and respect. That's a shout out to the graduating class of 2006 of Okemos High School. I love each and every single one of you. And thank you all so much for having my back. And everybody else listening, be like somebody in the class of 06. Be a leader. And always make sure you let somebody know that you're going to take them under their wing and continue to have their back no matter what. Thank you all so much for tuning into the show. Again, another great episode. We will see you on the next episode of the Center Podcast. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. Peace and love. Thank you.
Anytime you're shortcutting it, you're probably cheating some people. Players play. Tough players win.